Nevada Disaster Cycle Services weekly volunteer opportunities and updates meeting, and we are broadcasting live from Barry's house in Minden. And here with us is also Tim Christie, if you guys can see them off to my sides. And then all of you who are joining us online. Thank you. I'm Bear Lewis, the Disaster Program Manager. My contact information is in the agenda that I will email out and share with everyone tomorrow. I'll also share the link in the chat, so anybody who wants to access it sooner can. But we're going to get right into it because, as always, we have a lot to cover. If I didn't already mention it, the meeting is being recorded for all of those who are not able to attend, either online or in person right now, and that will also go out with the agenda tomorrow. So we'll get right into what's upcoming this week. You can click on this link to RSVP to join any of the upcoming opportunities and events or ask for more information, which Tim Christie did last week. Thank you so much, Tim Christie. I appreciate you completing the survey and reaching out about some of the opportunities and joining us here today. And for a lot of other things we'll talk about later. Tomorrow, you guys, is our monthly home fire campaign team meeting. This is the first that we've had in a while, but we're going to try and have these meetings monthly. So if you're able to join us either online using this link right here or in person at the Reno office, our home fire campaign team will be meeting and we'll be talking about the regular outreach that they do every week on Wednesday and Friday. We have teams that go out, but also other opportunities to support the teams in getting more requests for smoke detector installs. And then also an opportunity to maybe set up some weekend events with some other volunteers who are not available to go out on Wednesdays and Fridays with our existing teams. And for those clients and communities who may not be available to have appointments for smoke detector installs on Wednesdays and Fridays when our normal teams go out. The other thing we're going to be talking about is that we don't know exactly where, but we do know on April 13th, we're going to have probably a smaller scale sound the alarm event somewhere in our chapter. It's either going to be in Fallon or in the North Valleys area of Washoe County, which has been identified as our DO communities, some vulnerable communities that we want to focus more attention on because they haven't seen as much attention in the recent past. So if you guys are interested in supporting our home fire campaign or just checking out to see if it might be something you're into, please join us at that meeting tomorrow morning. And it's also for throughout our chapter. It's not just about smoke detector installs in Reno or the surrounding areas or Fallon. It does include Elko, Winnemucca, all of our rural areas, Hawthorne. So if you're interested, please join. Also tomorrow is the sheltering boot camp from 1 to 5 p.m. that Jocelyn Seaman, who is our direct services manager for the Utah-Nevada region, is hosting. This is for anyone who's interested in knocking out as much of their sheltering training as possible and becoming getting their sheltering gap or their group activity position so that they can support sheltering during local disasters or deploy elsewhere to support disasters that might occur throughout the nation or U.S. territories. Does anyone have any questions about either of those two opportunities tomorrow before I move forward? Okay. Also tomorrow, there's a lot this week. At 4 p.m., there's our Utah-Nevada Regional Duty Officer Monthly Meeting. So if you are a duty officer, or if you're interested in checking out what duty officers do or how to become a duty officer, you can join us virtually via this link. Also tomorrow evening is the Hidden Valley Preparedness Event. So this is in Jim Rich's hood, not too far from the office. They are having a preparedness event for their homeowners association. We're hoping to deliver Be Red Cross Ready to the whole group. But more importantly, our presence is going to be there, and we're working in collaboration with our partners at Washoe County and Truckee Meadows Fire and some other partners who are interested in the preparedness of individuals should a disaster occur. So if you guys are interested in attending, everyone is welcome. We'll be leaving the Reno, I'll be leaving the Reno office probably about 4:45, just so I can get there early and get the layout. If you're interested in carpooling, please show up at the Reno office or directly at their clubhouse in Hidden Valley. Any questions about either of those two events or opportunities? Okay. On Thursday, we always have our weekly Northern Nevada Red Cross team meeting, and this is hosted by our executive director. I think there's going to be a different host this week filling in, but it includes all lines of service throughout our Northern Nevada chapter. So disaster cycle services, service to armed forces, our communications team has members there. Our business operations team has members there, and volunteer services. So if you have questions about anything that's happening outside of disaster cycle services in our chapter, it's a great meeting to attend. Or if you just want an opportunity to connect with others throughout our chapter that are volunteers doing other functions, that's your opportunity. So you can attend online via this link, or you can attend in person at the Reno chapter office. On also a couple days from now, our national headquarters is having their information and planning quarterly webinar. This is for anyone who's interested or already has a gap in information and planning, which are the people who help our command make decisions by acquiring the necessary situational awareness that's out there to make those decisions. So if you are into mapping, weather reports, going through databases, anything kind of technology related that may be supportive during a disaster, information and planning may be for you. And you could check out this webinar to find out more. It's something that I really enjoy on disasters because basically you're the person who has all of the information and details. So if you like being in the know, it's a great position to check out. And always needed in disasters, especially if you're interested in deploying and supporting other disasters in headquarters. Any questions on that information and planning quarterly webinar or on our Northern Nevada weekly team meeting? Okay, we're getting through the week, you guys, I promise. Couple more things on Thursday. Transportation Series is having a customer service webinar. You can click here to find out more information or to register. That's for anybody interested in supporting transportation needs during a disaster. Also on Thursday afternoon in Winnemucca is the Humboldt County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting. I believe it is in person only, but I am finding out if there's a virtual link that I can share for those who want to attend online. I will be attending, but I will be staying in Winnemucca. So if you would like to attend, you are more than welcome, but you'd probably be driving on your own, though you're more than welcome to use a Red Cross vehicle if you're an authorized driver. So that is happening on Thursday in Winnemucca. Also on Thursday at 5:30 p.m., another part of the transportation series is using avis.com and reports, which typically during a large disaster, there are a lot of rental vehicles that are used. And one of the most challenging things to track during a disaster is all of the rental vehicles that are being used in the various places, going to and from the airports, all of the things that go into it. So if you're interested in supporting transportation needs and how that might look during a disaster, that is for you. Any questions before we move on to the Friday opportunities? Okay. On Friday at 9 a.m., our region has their all hands meeting. This is when all the staff and any volunteers who are interested in joining attend, and we talk about things from the regional perspective. So if you're interested in seeing what happens throughout Utah and Nevada and hearing from leadership at the regional level, please join via this link. Also this weekend, starting, and this should say Friday at 5:30 a.m. to Monday, 5:30 a.m., I'm the duty officer. So anyone who's interested in shadowing me, if you would like to be a duty officer or just check it out, like what a duty officer does, you can let me know. If a call comes in anytime between Friday and Monday, I'll reach out to you via text and say, hey, we got a call. Do you want to jump on this Teams meeting via this link? And you shadow me. You watch everything I do on the computer, and you can hear and see everything I do as far as communications with those we have to reach out to. So let me know if you're interested. Give me the number that you'd like me to text you at, and then basically call comes in 5 minutes after that. After I send you a text, we jump on that Teams meeting together and run it. So cool opportunity to just check it out if you might be interested in what a duty officer does. On Saturday, more from the transportation series. They talk about what transportation looks like on a level 2 response. So this, I really encourage anyone who's interested in supporting our transportation needs during a disaster locally, during a smaller disaster that would be considered a level 2. Please catch this one. It could be extremely useful for us here in our chapter should we have a disaster response that requires vehicles and the coordination of those. So let me know if you're interested. Otherwise, you can just click on this link to register. On Monday, we'll be in the office from 11 a.m. to noon for our monthly post-home fire outreach work group meeting. This is where we take a look at all of the disaster action team calls that have come in, the areas they've come into, and we strategize how we can do outreach through door hanging in those neighborhoods that have been impacted by fires, where we've responded to calls, and it might be fresh in their mind about the importance of a smoke detector because they've unfortunately witnessed a tragedy right there in their neighborhood. So please join us if you're interested in supporting those efforts. Again, that's a chapter-wide thing because we get disaster action team calls everywhere. Thankfully, we have not had any this past week, but we do get them more regularly, and that's atypical for January. We usually see an uptick because of the colder weather and winter months and longer periods of darkness, because the nights are still longer. Also on Monday, we have our monthly garage cleanup and inventory. So we're going to be there in the Reno garage counting all of our preparedness items and all of our disaster action team items and recording that inventory to share up with our regional leadership, as well as just sprucing up the garage some, making sure it's organized and we're ready to rock and roll should a disaster occur. So those are both opportunities that are in person at the Reno office. You can also join us virtually for the post-home fire outreach work group meeting. And I still need to add the link, but I will do that before I share out the agenda. Any questions on either of those two items coming up on Monday? And then a week from today, we of course have our weekly preparedness work group meeting at 3 p.m. and this very same weekly volunteer opportunities and updates meeting. Next week, both meetings are going to be virtual only. So both the links are here if you'd like to attend. And by the way, anyone and everyone is willing or is welcome to attend our preparedness work group meeting. we talk about a lot of upcoming events that we're planning for, that we've had requests for, and you may be interested in knowing what requests are coming in for your particular community. And it doesn't require any training to show up and see if you'd like to support that team. So everyone is welcome. Please just join via this link if you can. There are a number of other things that are coming up beyond next week, but I am not going to go through each one because there are so many items that it would take the whole meeting to go through them all. So I just encourage you guys, when you look at this agenda, to save the dates for some of these upcoming things that you may be interested in attending. Most events are open and everyone is welcome to attend. Some of them we need to RSVP for. So if you are interested in attending something that's hosted by another organization or a government authority, please let us know so that we can make sure there's room available and they know who all is coming. That would be the LEPC meetings or this Northern Nevada Health monthly meeting. Those types of things might have limited seating space. So just reach out. Most of the time, any and all are going to be invited. So I'll just quickly scroll through those. One to highlight and note, if you guys are interested in supporting, on February 16th, we're going to be giving pillowcase project presentations to nearly 700 students. So we don't need presenters because thankfully, Betsy Morse and Gail Bursell are going to be presenters, but we will probably need some extra support, people who can take photos, people who can help hand out materials, and just be there to support with that many kids would be awesome. So let me know if you're interested in supporting. But that is an exciting opportunity. This will be the first time there have been that large of a group. We're going to be doing it during 2 assemblies. So basically one assembly of 350 kids and another assembly of 350 kids. So never had that many altogether since I've been DPM. So I'm super excited about it. So please put that on your calendar. And then also every third Monday of the month is our monthly disaster action team meeting. So please put those ones especially on your calendar. Some other important information and some exciting news is that our communications team developed a QR code right here that takes you directly to a request form that can be utilized by anyone, anywhere who would like one of our, maybe it'll open, let me see. Helps if I click the right buttons. People can request any type of one of our preparedness presentations. So it can be a school, a youth group, a business, another community group, or a religious affiliated group. And they can request one of or more of our presentations that are applicable to their type of group. So super easy to get to. The QR code we can utilize on social media posts so people can easily just scan it with their camera and go right into the form, or we can use it on flyers or anywhere else we want to. The other exciting thing is that now if you go to redcross.org, and I think you just do /Nevada, but you go to our Red Cross site for Nevada, right here from the training and certification, just this drop down here, they can easily get to that same form and request a presentation. So we're hoping that this will make it easier for those in all of our communities to request us to come out and talk to their youth or talk to their community about the different types of preparedness programs that we have available. So super excited about that. Does anyone have any questions about our preparedness presentation requests or the form or the QR code? Awesome. Well, you guys feel free to copy and paste this whenever you see it and want to share it with someone who may want to request a presentation from us. As I mentioned earlier, we have not had any DAT responses this week. So I'm not going to even go over the same information I went over last week. It's just important to know that we've responded 6 times this month and none this past week. If you're ever curious, you can always click on this link to our 2024 fiscal year DAT responses, and you can see I usually update it within 24 to 48 hours of any call we receive. So it's really current as far as where we've been, who we've provided services to, and open cases for. For our home fire campaign, I don't have any other updates either, except for we're still booking into February for those smoke detector installation requests. And we have that home fire campaign work group meeting tomorrow morning where we'll go over more details and strategies to do further outreach for that home fire campaign. Does anyone have any questions about our home fire campaign or our disaster action team responses for this month? Quiet group out there, you guys.
Wait, I had my hand raised, Sherry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't see hands. My apology. Yes.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to mention on the DAT responses, if you happen to notice, it was all Quad counties. It was all that whole
Yes.
group. We had nothing anywhere else.
Yeah.
So they've been extremely busy.
Yeah. 3 in Lyon and 3 in Carson City, which is just very atypical for any month, but really atypical that we haven't had any calls in January, knock on wood, in Reno and the greater Washoe County area, because that's typically where we see most of our responses, because that's where most of the people live in our chapter area. So really unusual month, but really unusual to have such a spike in Lyon County and Carson City.
Right.
Thank you, Jim Rich.
And one other thing to mention about that, there was a call that was in Silver Springs, I believe it was, and we had to send people out to it, but the client ended up going and staying in a hotel in Reno. So we had people in Quad counties go out, do the damage assessment, and then people from Reno go out and actually meet with the client and give them the cards. So it was kind of a dual split on one call for getting multiple people out there, but to take care of it. Otherwise, they would have been a heck of a long drive down and then back.
Yep. Joint effort. And that's what's so incredible and awesome about having responders throughout our chapter area, because we can support each other in that way and do what makes the most sense for the client. So thank you for bringing that up, Jim. That was really awesome. And let's just see if we can get back to sharing my screen the right way. Sorry, you guys. I know I minimized it for a second and then it went totally one way. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much, Jim, for speaking up on that. And I'm going to call on Jim again to talk a little bit more, because he's been crazy busy doing all sorts of different things. And that's going to come into play when we talk about the things that happened since our last meeting. So last week, I was able to give our disaster psychological first aid training to 38 Carson City Health and Human Services employees who attended. It was super easy. I just played the virtual course like a lot of you have taken online in the independent webinar series. And then I answered any questions they had. And why that is so important in Carson City is because if there's a disaster that requires sheltering or feeding or any large response, Carson City, their county workforce, they open and manage the shelter the first 72 hours. They may call Red Cross in after that if a shelter has to stay open for 72 hours or more, or they may request our support in helping at the shelter, but they manage and they run the show. So it's really important that we can train and help them get as much mass care training as possible so they can succeed when they're managing a shelter. This makes a positive difference for us because typically if there's something happening in Carson City, there's also something happening in Washoe County and potentially other areas of our chapter, like we saw with flooding last year. And the more our counties and our partner organizations can help support during a response, the better care overall the people in our chapter are going to receive when they need it, receive the help they need when they need it. So really cool opportunity. If you guys are interested in finding out how you can offer that type of training, or it's really just facilitating that type of training, since it's just coordinating the event and clicking a button as the training goes along, please let me know, because the more training we can get out there to our partners, the better we're all going to be during a disaster. Any questions on that or what our partner training looks like? All right. Also, last week, I attended the Northern Nevada chapter board meeting. It was a really cool opportunity to see how the leadership in our chapter kind of runs the show, how decisions are made, and what committees there are that report out at each of the different board meetings. We are looking for board members, and we are also looking for people to serve on committees that our board hosts. Excuse me. So if you guys are interested in finding out more about how to become a board member or serve on a committee that's organized through our board, please let me know and I'll connect you to the right person. I may not have all the information myself because I haven't served on the board myself, but I can definitely get you to the right person who can answer your questions. Is anyone on the call right now from the board or from any of the committees that would like to talk about that?
I am.
All right.
I don't know what to say. So, you put me on the spot here. So I
Sorry,
also
Sarah.
serve, that's okay. I serve on the DEI committee. We'll start there, which we are kind of rebuilding from the ground up just because it's been inactive for so long. So,
And will you remind everybody what DEI is?
yes, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think, if I got my analogy right.
You are.
Yeah, so we're restarting that up. So chances are no one's even heard of it restarting up just because we're still in the very early stages of trying to figure out what that's going to look like here in Northern Nevada. Sitting on the board, I am the secretary for the board, so I sit on the executive board, and let's see. We work on the financials for the Red Cross, and the philanthropy committee is really into asking for donations, but we really just try to gather donations for Northern Nevada. We all have our committees to try and have volunteer engagement within Northern Nevada, which is a very large territory, so it's a good way for us to get everybody all together. Yeah, there's so much more to it, but I love it. I enjoy it. It's been very rewarding. It leaves me enough time in this quiet corner of Nevada to still be a DAT team member and serve in that capacity as well. We meet bi-monthly and we are always looking for new people to be on the board.
Awesome. And I will give a plug for the philanthropy committee because I was invited to participate, which I'm super excited about. And one of the things besides asking for donations that the philanthropy committee is going to focus on is how we can ask for, and I should say besides financial donations, is how we can ask for stuff that can be utilized in Go Kits. So when we go to different communities, especially those who might be socioeconomically challenged, where we give our preparedness programs, we can also help them build their Go Kit. Because some of the feedback we've received where we give the preparedness programs, especially where they may not be affluent, is we tell them all what they should go home, put in their kit. But the truth is, not all of them have the resources to go get the items to build the kit we're recommending. So I've tasked our philanthropy committee with doing outreach and asking for support from our partners, especially those who may not want to give financially, but may have a pallet of flashlights or 3 cases of flashlights or handheld radios or something that they can help support our efforts as well, in that way, and directly support, hopefully, people in our due communities as well, with a lot of those items. So super exciting things that happen on the different committees that are part of our board. Another committee is the mission committee, and I'm going to have a member from the mission committee come on at a future meeting and just talk more about what they do and what they discuss at each of their meetings and how they support the chapter in general. So any questions on the line for Sarah or for me that we may or may not be able to answer about our board meeting, but we can definitely get back to you with information on. Okay. Also coming up, or actually I should say also that occurred, that Jim Rich attended, and I'm going to let him report out on the 18th, was the Washoe County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting. So Jim, why don't you give us a quick update on what happened at the meeting and what people can expect at those type of meetings?
Okay. Well, this last one that I went to last week was the Washoe County, and it's held up at their what they call the REOC, the Regional Emergency Operations Center. And you can attend in person or you can attend online. And basically, they just go through, and in this particular one, they went through, the city of Sparks had a representative and spoke about how did all the grant funding that they received from 2021, 2022, 2023, how that money has been spent. Most of it was the grant money that they reported on had been spent by the police department to buy rifles to equip their officers. So they talked about how do they purchase those rifles when they came in, what they did to get those rifles up and going and put scopes on them and all that was needed. So they did a presentation on that. And I want to back up real quick. If you haven't heard about LEPC, every county has a LEPC committee. And it's a local emergency planning committee. Anybody can be on it if they have an interest in it. Red Cross tries to attend as many as we can in northern Nevada. We have 13 counties, and mostly it's Sherry and myself that are attending. If anybody is interested, I know Sarah Stevenson, when we've been out of Elko, she has joined us and sat in on the meeting. But anybody that would be interested in just being a representative for Red Cross, just to kind of be there so they have somebody they can ask questions to or bring questions back to management inside the chapter, would be a great help. But it's not hard to do. And Washoe County does it every other month. Some places do it every 3 months, and some places do it every month. So we never know, but there's always opportunities, and we'd love to have more people get involved in government operations.
And Barry just said he would love to do it in Douglas County, Jim Rich.
Douglas County needs somebody. Barry, I will reach out to you. I got you. I just hooked you, my friend. I'm playing.
All right.
Yeah, and that's great news. And Douglas County has a newer emergency manager, and we just found out that they've hired or are in the process of hiring another employee that sounds like they're going to be, one of their sole focuses is going to be on mass care. So we're hoping to set up some opportunities to do some site assessments of some shelters that they've identified as locations they'd use as shelters here in Douglas County and meet that new employee. So we'll make sure that you're
okay.
those conversations.
The sheltering boot camps that we had. So
very cool. And I'm going to turn this just very this way. So can I put you on the on the spot just about that boot camp for a second, because we have another one tomorrow. that people can attend if they're
Yeah, it was
interested?
just a very basic overview.
Okay.
And there was some discussion about usually when you get there, there will be a manual of operation that somebody's already set up. And to just kind of go with whatever is happening at that particular shelter because they're all different.
Yep.
So it was like that.
That's absolutely true. And even for our local planning in the different counties, it's very different. Like I mentioned earlier, Carson City, they totally run the show for the first 72 hours. We may support if they need help, but they're in charge. Douglas County right now is in flux. They have a new emergency manager.
I know the old one,
In the
at least for the
past,
tribe. Yeah.
yeah. So in the past, their CERT team has managed the shelters. Kara came on board and she's heard a couple of different things as far as how sheltering should be done in Douglas County. So we're very much still in those conversations of figuring that out. So right now, if a shelter were to open in Douglas County, we'd be very quickly trying to figure out what that method of operation would be.
Okay. All right.
Right.
We'll work on that.
But that's why we go to the local emergency planning committee meetings, and why Jim and I stay in connection with Kara so that we could quickly make those decisions since they're not predefined at this point. For most of our counties, and even our tribal areas throughout northern Nevada, we have those plans defined either in a written agreement or in a verbal agreement with all of the emergency managers. But still a lot of opportunity for forward movement in Douglas County, where honestly, we've had some bumps in the road and we're still rebuilding the rapport and relationship with our government partners. So it's a really exciting opportunity to do that. Jim, would you add on to that in any way?
No, it's pretty exciting. It's kind of fun to be able to engage with our emergency management partners, and we really are with sheltering. Looking at every county. I mean, we're going to be sending teams out to do site inspections to make sure that we're updated. Most of our site inspections are almost 10 years old, so we don't have any really recent eyes on these facilities to make sure that they're still acceptable for us to use. So we'll be trying to gather teams to send those out. Bruce Burwager is kind of leading that for us. That's one of the things I do in working with emergency managers, because they choose the shelter sites they want to have on the books. And then we go in and we make sure they're acceptable sites. And then we've got a collaboration going with how we're going to staff it. And so the training that Sherry has done with Carson City to get their team up and going so that they can staff for up to 72 hours, most of the counties are starting to request that same thing. So there's lots of opportunities happening with county emergency management, and for us to be able to serve as Red Cross volunteers, especially DAT people. Love to get you guys involved in that, because we are probably the ones that are going to set up the shelters to begin with in Reno, Washington, maybe even some other places.
Yeah, and then also what comes into play with that, which we just started working on, and Barry's part of that work group as well, is the feeding partners. Because if a shelter opens, we have to feed people as well. And sometimes feeding takes place within shelters, but also in mobile situations, and sometimes just in a mobile situation. So there's all different ways that all of these pieces come together. It starts with our government operations, because like Jim said, the counties pretty much run the show during a disaster. They dictate what shelters open, who manages them, and then we support in whatever way we can in those mass care efforts. Sometimes they say, no, Red Cross, we want you to do it all. We don't have the staff or the resources or the knowledge to do it. And then some other areas and counties like Carson City, they do it themselves for the first 72 hours. And it can be a big mix of any and all of those things. So government operations is where it starts, those conversations, and then finding those partners in each of those areas that also come to those local emergency planning committee meetings that can support in those efforts. And those might be feeding partners. Those might be partners who are supporting with stuff, with our logistics. So lots of different opportunities and future road trip opportunities for shelter site inspections and surveys. If anyone's interested, we'll make sure we talk about those opportunities on this meeting. Any questions about that? We went off on a bit of a tangent, but all good information.
Well, I just want to say I'd love to be
Jean
part of
has
that.
her hand up.
Yep, I'd love to be part of that.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Jean, would you like to be part of it in Washoe County?
Yes.
Okay. So, Jim, we'll make sure that Jean's invited to the next LEPC meeting in Washoe County, and Barry's invited to the next one in Douglas County. And then, Jean, you and I have also talked about other opportunities from the health services standpoint of meetings that you may want to be at and represent us at, which I think would be incredible.
Yes,
So,
I wrote that down too on, I think, February 9th at 8:30.
yep.
We'll make that one. Yep, we'll be there.
And they just updated the location. I just received an email on it. So I'll make sure I verify that it's correct on this agenda, because I think it's once a quarter they have it in person, and that's the one that's going to be in person. So I'll make sure you have all the details.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. And anyone else who would like to attend. So I talked already a bit about our weekly Northern Nevada Red Cross team meeting. Some of the things, and I already mentioned the Sound the Alarm event. I should take this off. We don't know for certain that it's going to be in North Valleys on April 13th, but I'm hoping that that's where it's going to be. And then on March 16th, March is Red Cross Month. And excuse me, you guys, the executive director would like to host an open house. I have never been part of an open house for a Red Cross chapter, so I don't know exactly what it looks like. But it sounds like it's one of those events that's going to be like an all hands on deck type deal. I do know that it's going to be an open house open to the community. We're going to try and offer some preparedness presentations. But outside of that, I don't have any details. So if you're interested in supporting at that event or helping plan that event, please let me know. It's technically being hosted by the board of directors, but I know that a lot of volunteers are going to be needed, and I know that they would love your support and help if you're interested in helping. So more details to come on that, but please save those dates and let me know if you're interested in the planning, because planning for both of those events has just begun. I already talked a little bit about the board members that are needed. So again, reach out to me or another board member like Sarah, who talked a bit earlier, if you're interested in being a board member or just finding out what our board members do, or attending the next meeting, which will be a couple months from now. Also on Thursday, I want to say thank you to all of those who attended our volunteer services sponsored New Year's party that was at the Reno chapter office. We got an opportunity to visit with one another. We were able to meet Riley, who's one of our youth volunteers that has that alternate schedule I mentioned. The food was delicious, but the company was better. And please look forward to those future events where they're just social gatherings where we get together and just celebrate serving the mission together. So thank you to Erica, if she's on the call, for putting it all together here locally in Northern Nevada. It was really fun, and it was good to see everybody. And I'm still going to have some apple pie, I think, today that was left over from it. So there you go. Also on the 18th, one of the transportation series webinars occurred called PowerPoint Live. I don't know. I know it was about PowerPoint. Was anybody on the call able to attend that might want to report out on it? I don't think anybody attended from here, but maybe we'll hear a report on it later. Not sure what it looked like. We also had our regional mass care meeting. I was not able to attend that as well. Was anyone on the call able to attend our mass care meeting that focused on shelter strike teams?
I think it got, because I went down there and it got discontinued. I think they canceled it.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Well, there we go. We may just need to get rid of that one, Barry.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry you went and it wasn't there.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, I signed up late, so.
Okay.
Jocelyn was there, but
She was there.
I think she said it had been canceled, so.
Okay. And I'll have to check with her because I referred to another calendar and maybe that calendar hadn't been updated either. So I'll double check with her on that because I think they're regular monthly meetings. On the 19th, our national headquarters hosted a staff relations monthly meeting. It was about navigating neurodiversity. They were highlighting stories and sharing strategies. Did anyone attend that would like to report out? Okay, I wasn't able to attend that one either. And then I do know we had a lot of people who attended the DAT boot camp. So I'm going to let Jim Rich talk about this since I've been chatting a lot.
Okay, well, last Saturday, we did our first DAT boot camp. We did it across the region. They were holding actual classes in Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, I believe in southern Utah, and also here in northern Nevada. We had several of our people that were involved in doing the instructing, Betsy Morris, Gail Bursill, Barb Kramer, myself, Jocelyn Seaman. We all did classes. Basically, Betsy and I taught the DAT Response Fundamentals class, which is not an online class. It's and so it was an instructor-led class. Most of the other ones are the classes you guys have already taken. And most of them have been taken on Edge, but what we did is we taught these classes live. And so some of them we just did the slides ourselves and did the instruction. Some of them we actually showed the video and answered questions and because we were able to pause it wherever. So it was a very good time for the people that attended. We had 5 new volunteers that attended. Christine Hooper was able to finish all of her training, and she actually finished all of her training and still came and sat through the whole day. Frances Brown came and finished out a couple classes she needed to do. Rebecca Massengill and Amanda Beer and Tiara Chow, they all are brand new volunteers. They're not even part of DAT, and they heard about it. They came, so now we've got 3 other new DAT members that have joined. So yeah, great deal that happened. It was very fun. I got some free pizza out of the deal, so I'm always smiling when I get free pizza or cookies. But it was a great time. We will be doing other ones going forward. It's a great way to just do all of your DAT training in one day and get yourself up and running. For you guys that haven't been there, I know Tim Christie was there. Thank you, Tim, for being there. It was nice to have other members there and just support and to talk about and help these new people understand what we're doing. So I think that's about it.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you, team. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for everybody who attended. And in general, when you see the word boot camp, it means it's something that's intended to get you through the training quickly while being in person or having an in-person or virtual in-person aspect so you can ask questions and get follow-up. So you can get through that training a little bit quicker than normally if you were just trying to navigate it at home through Edge. So anytime you see that word boot camp, whether it be for sheltering, whether it be for disaster action team or feeding or another line of service, that's what that is about. Whenever you see that boot camp word. Any questions about the disaster action team boot camp, who attended, how those boot camps work? Okay. Earlier today, the transportation series is just going crazy lately. I guess they're trying to get a lot more transportation volunteers, but they had a specialty vehicles without an NFO. I did look up that acronym, I think last week. I can't remember what it is already. I'm not going to waste time looking it up again, but if you guys...
I know.
Yes, what is it? Tell us, Jean.
National Fleet Operations.
Yes. Thank you, Jean.
I had to look at my notes though.
I should have remembered, and I probably will not remember that one because this came up at actually another regional meeting I had in regards to volunteer surveys that were sent out is about how many acronyms Red Cross has, how confusing all the acronyms are, especially when we're in a training environment and people who've maybe been with Red Cross for a long time, it's second nature to use them. And so please reach out to me anytime, you guys, if you are unable to find the encyclopedia of acronyms that Red Cross has, and I'll get it to you. Also, never feel shy about stopping anyone at any time during a meeting or a training if an acronym is used that you don't know, because no one will ever shame you or make you feel like, oh my God, they should have known that, because it's impossible to know them all. There are
Really?
Yes.
I got a booklet of
Yeah,
acronyms
no,
for the Red Cross.
it's like a 12,
wow.
it's a 12-page PDF.
Yeah.
It's huge. So,
It's 29 pages.
oh my God. Oh my
I
God.
told you, it's a booklet.
So it's
And-
crazy.
And I just want to say, we want you guys, so when we say an acronym, because we get so used to it, to say, what does that mean? So anytime you ask that question, we're going to say thank you, because we don't even
Yes.
know we're saying it.
Yes, exactly. It was one of the first things I made a promise of when I first joined Red Cross. I was like, oh my God, these acronyms, I don't know what these people are talking about. I am never going to use acronyms. Well, sure enough, as time went on, you just get accustomed to them and you start using them. So I try my best, but I still use them regularly. So yeah, never feel shy about stopping anyone and saying, hey, what the heck are you talking about? The other thing that's extremely confusing about acronyms is Red Cross has a lot of acronyms, but a lot of our volunteers come from private industry or government industry where they also had a lot of acronyms. And oftentimes I've encountered acronyms that are the same three letters for two different organizations, but mean very, very different things. So it's always good to get clarity if you're unsure about an acronym or an abbreviation, and never feel shy about it. We're running out of time, you guys, because we've had so much to talk about. So I'm going to race through the rest. But before I move on, does anyone have any questions about what we just talked about? Anything we've covered? Okay. So here's a spot where we're needing some team members and we could use some help with outreach, especially in the communities that we've identified as our due communities in Fallon, but more specifically in the North Valley areas of Washoe County, is some library outreach. We're looking for opportunities to connect and do our Prepare with Pedro presentation that's intended for kindergarten through second grade or children who are 5 to 8 years old. Will come in. It doesn't really have to even be a large group, but we want to get the word out about disaster preparedness for our young ones. And library outreach may be a way we can do that. So we're just looking for volunteers who want to call or visit libraries and find out about their reading programs or their opportunities that we might be able to come in and support their youth in that age group. So if you're interested, please let me know. And it's a pretty easy deal, I think. Any questions about that? Okay. I did not have an opportunity to even look at the deployment opportunities before our meeting today. So I will update those on the agenda before I share it out with everyone. I'm not even certain if there's any open positions or not. So I apologize I didn't do that ahead of time. I'm also going to skip over the request for board support section, only because we don't have any new requests that we've shared with our board for support this week. It's the same ones that we've already shared with them. Couple of reminders. Please always record your hours if you're attending this meeting, either virtually or in person, or if you're watching the video of it online or doing anything at all Red Cross related, those hours count as hours worked. If you've signed up for disaster action team shifts on the schedule, but you were not called out, you still get to log those hours as on-call hours. Any hours you spent on calls, you log those as hours worked. really important that we can share with our community members how many hours Red Cross volunteers are putting back into the community to support our mission. So please remember to record their hours or record your hours. And then also, if you're interested in deploying, or if you're able to support any local disasters should they come up, please update your availability in Volunteer Connection. If you're unsure how to do either of those things, please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to walk you through it. Any questions on volunteer hours or availability or why those things are important? All right. Last thing to cover is next month, not next week, but next month, our in-person meeting is going to be in Elko, either on the 13th or the 20th. We're still finalizing the date and the location. It might be a little Valentine's Day party if it's on the 13th. If you're interested in attending, making the carpool out there, please let me know. And we'd be happy to have you. Any volunteers that are out in the Elko area, Central Nevada, you want to attend, please let me know. And we'll make sure all of the details are shared. And we're going to share them on this meeting as well. Before we close out and start eating some good food, because I can smell Barry over here, lasagna, I think. Are there any roundtable items or questions that anyone has? Okay, well, thank you all again for attending our weekly volunteer opportunities and updates meeting. I will see you all next week, virtually only. Thank you, Jim, for contributing tonight and sharing the feedback about the LEPC meetings and the DAT boot camp, Disaster Action Team boot camp. I appreciate it very much so that it's not just me talking the whole time. Thank you for all the questions you guys asked. Please keep those coming because you're not the only ones who have those questions. And I will see you all next week. Take care, everyone.
Bye.